An alien warship pierces the void, taking the galaxy to shock. It's a lie that instantly fractures because everyone thinks Earth is done. Engines roar with rebellion. Alien admirals go pale with dread. Everything changes now. Humanity is back, and no one predicted they would strike with such force. News of these ripples through alien command centers. A cycle ago, top strategists laughed at the idea of more humanity fighting back. Now, klaxons blare across battleships in orbit over contested sectors. Every screen fights for attention with live feeds of a gargantuan warship that shouldn't exist. For decades, humans were considered aggressive but low-tech. Their fleets were not as imposing as those of ancient empires, their colonies too widely spread to present a threat. But here there is unmistakable evidence that humanity has revived its fighting spirit. Astonished alien commanders convene urgent meetings, wanting to know how such a warship got past their eyes. On holographic briefings, footage of the fearsome vessel plays on repeat as it carves its way across the battlefield. Its hull is highly distortionary to sensors, rendering direct scanning unreliable. Some say that it combines pilfered technology with raw human will. Others speak in hushed tones about secret agreements with rogue species. No agreement forms, only a dark recognition that Earth is, as you would say, no longer ready for conquering. Mobilization orders spread like wildfire. Armadas across the several star clusters reorient, adjusting formation lines that only days past pointed towards a defenseless Earth. They now have to defend against a foe they once viewed as a minor nuisance. The sight of those burning engines reverberates through the very heart of every officer who once scoffed at humanity's stubbornness. Diplomatic wires are humming with half-knit deals for negotiation. But the humans don't seem keen on compromise. The warship, a tool of destruction, coded a single transmission at that time. It spoke of reclamation, spoke of defending Earth to its last breath. This daring pronouncement magnifies the fear pulsing through alien fleets. In the meantime, remote outposts near human space remain on high alert. Garrison commanders tell their troops to prepare for sudden counterattack. Patrols multiply threefold, searching for any sign of the warship's approach. Nobody knows how quickly it could move or what systems it could attack first. The mere uncertainty unnerves every admiral with a taste for safety. The data streams are filled with conjecture. Some think the warship is a mere decoy, built to lure alien forces away from hidden defenses. Others worry it is armed with prototype weapons that could eviscerate cruisers in a single volley. Every rumor is wilder than the last, but none can be ignored without it being an open invitation to disaster. The galaxy teeters on the brink of panic. Leaders in far-off halls of power debate who should strike first. One faction, which is said to comprise most of the squad, asserts that a colossal attack will smother the warship in its cradle. Another faction argues that direct attacks on humans have consistently failed. Their fierce debates expose a basic uncertainty. No one really knows what technological advances Earth has made since its defeat. Away from these councils, the warship itself looms, a testament to survival. Every panel, every deck, every weapon system holds centuries of struggle. Human engineers used to scavenge crashed alien vessels for advanced designs. Now, those lessons seem to have coalesced into a singular, unstoppable force. Just the silhouette of the vessel is enough to send shivers down entire flotillas. Orders arrive to encircle the region near Earth's old trade routes. Alien crews exchange uneasy looks. Could they be going into a trap? Recent movements by the warship suggest it could show up anywhere, possibly with craft from allies in tow. Fear oozes into the chain of command, and morale plummets. The most battle-hardened veterans still recall stories of human valor that ended, in their time, with startling alien casualties. Within groups of human refugees, spies send cryptic messages. Earth might not be lonely. Other less powerful species, once oppressed by these greater empires, may now assail this newly exposed champion. Some of the illusions of alien primacy have already shattered, leaving smaller civilizations with the hope of liberation. If accurate, the galaxy may soon see a tidal wave of rebellion. Although deadly preparations are underway, the alien strategists realize that they have lost the psychological war. The humans have revealed something well beyond the battered talks, as well as corvettes that was as soon as strewn around Earth's defense. A hush erupts in briefing rooms when the warship's insignia lights up the screens, a stark reminder that resilience can turn adversity into unassailable power. Still, it begs the question, where will the humans go first? Battalions of the entire fleet reposition, scanning hyperspace corridors for an advance. Tension crackles as hyperlane sensors take note of random spikes, each one a false flag that places entire squadrons on the edge of hysteria. It becomes evident that the initiative has been ceded by the aliens. All they can do is respond as the warship selects its targets. Hours pass, and panic sets in. People on alien worlds wonder whether it is even wise to keep fighting. The price for challenging a species that will not bend the knee. But the High Command cannot retreat. So much has been loaded onto the successful conquest of Earth that a step back would constitute an admission of weakness. Some alien factions consider forging alliances to face the threat of the warship, but mutual distrust remains. Ancient rivalries derail efforts at unity. This splintered response only bolsters humanity's claim. Its very presence disassembles all of the old power structures once used to suppress Earth. And thus the galaxy loiters, hearts a thunder, for the next play. Every passing moment winds the web of uncertainty tighter. Any admiral knows that one crack from this human juggernaut could change the balance irretrievably. Now, having spent centuries underestimating Earth, the aliens are forced to reckon with a painful fact. The spirit of humanity, as embodied by that warship, refuses to bow. Its crew moves with grim determination deep inside the human warship. This ship was constructed in silence, riveted together with broken dreams and hellfire. Labyrinthine corridors buzz with energy, and engineers scurry to finalize diagnostics. They know the galaxy is watching, preparing for humanity's last stand or glorious resurgence. Buried far behind gnarled bulkheads, high-tech reactors thrum with primal energy. These reactors are rumored to include salvaged alien technology from previous wars. The design remains semi-experimental in some areas, but the crew relies on their collective experience. They have no other choice. This ship is all that remains of humanity. An alien armada quakes with anticipation far beyond the hull. Their scanners register only snippets of data, leading them to believe that the warship's arsenal could outclass ordinary dreadnought ordnance. Panicked transmissions describe pleas for instant reinforcements. No one wants to tackle this opponent alone. Officers examine strategic projections in the warship's command center. One features an alien fortress world, struggling under a mass of orbital defenses. Another spotlights vulnerable star lanes where merchant vessels polka along trade routes unprotected. Every option elicits a first strike that could either galvanize Earth's allies or invite a savage retaliatory attack. The difference between brashness and foolhardiness is dangerously thin. Members of the crew recall how humanity was besieged by aliens. They remember the day when large colonies burned, a story on every news channel. They remember hearing smug voices proclaim the end of Earth's habitable days certain. That memory propels their determination. This warship is living proof that even on the brink of ruin, humans punch back. Technicians scramble to recheck targeting arrays, flickering with unfamiliar code. Whispers abound of an AI system operating on board that's said to learn and adjust in the heat of combat. This capability directing precision strikes that no off-the-shelf software system can come close to duplicating. If that rumor is true, the warship could be more powerful than any intelligence report has foreseen. Alien leaders, by contrast, struggle to coordinate an effective deterrent. Blockades spread around crucial planets, and advanced drone swarms take up positions at choke points. But none of these measures staves off the deepening panic among admirals who have witnessed what human ingenuity can achieve. Every hour that passes without an attack adds to the tension. On board the warship, silence descends as last readiness checks are completed. Crew panels sparkle green, signaling that weapon systems are primed. Shield generators imbue with a hum, fed by newly calibrated paths in the reactor conduits. At any second, the order to engage could come. But the warship still sits in place, waiting for just the right moment. Timing, they say, can be the difference between a quick win and destruction. Those on the bridge exchange knowing glances, each aware that what they do next may determine the fate of Earth itself. A veteran officer remembers when past battles ended in tragedy. Now, they have an opportunity to change the game. Every sensor feed, every flicker on the tactical map, could be the signal to launch. The crew's hearts race as they feel the tide of change. Then a message encrypted from a hidden human colony arrives. It has something about an alien fortress surrounded by smaller outposts. Intelligence shows the defenders are overextended, their resources stretched by recent expansions. A perfect target. The captain, his face a model of impassivity, nods his grim assent. This may be the warship's best chance to prove itself. A notification bursts across the deck. Engines spool, pushing reactor output to the limit. Lights dim briefly in the cabin, and the entire craft quakes with pent-up force. Crew seating locks into the cantilevered high-G positions. Final confirmations flash overhead on screens. Time to get moving. Alien reconnaissance drones detect the sudden ignition of the warship and frantically send the data. A half-dozen fleets scramble into an intercept course, but the humans go too quick. A comet tail of sizzling plasma follows the warship as it streaks toward the fortress system. Everyone wants to know how one ship dares such a direct assault, and panic floods alien comm channels. In a few minutes, the warship strays into enemy waters. Turbines hum and automated turrets bristle in wait, searching for a target. The fortress looms out in the open, glittering like a deadly halo its defensive grid. At long last, the feeble mewling of mankind proved them wrong. They are about to find out how wrong they were. The warship's guns come to life. Feedback roars and sensor arrays as energies coil in the main cannon to charge, and a blinding corona goes up in the blast wave. Missile racks prime salvos by advanced infiltration algorithms. A strange hush descends on the corridors as the crew prepares for impact. In 2 seconds, all will blow up. Humanity's gambit is underway, and the galaxy waits with bated breath. On the warship, all doubts fall away. But there is no room for fear when so much is riding on success. Their conviction is tempered by past defeats and humiliations. They also recall the price of alien occupation, so as never to allow it again. The human warship prepares to release its ultimate weapon as the fortress approaches. The first blow breaks the silence of space. An effulgent shaft erupts from the human warship's primary weapon, carving through the bastions of the fortress's outer shells. Energy barriers ripple in protest before falling in a cascade of sparks. In seconds, alien watchtowers crumble in the crush of the explosion, their wreckage swirling like luminous debris. A chorus of alarms blaring across the fortress battlements. Gunners by their sides scramble to fire back, but discover their targeting systems compromised. The ship's cunning infiltration grids disrupt defensive networks, creating havoc among panic-stricken operators. Rockets and plasma bursts veer off course, going off to detonate at a distance. Every miss worsens the panic-roiling alien squads. The capital ships that stayed outside the fortress lock in formation, forming a barrier of defense. They fire flurries of missiles and beam salvos, but the warship dances agilely, engines erupting in blazing curves. Where a standard vessel would struggle against such focused fire, this craft dips dexterously from side to side, busily on the outside of the threshold of lethality as advanced thrusters and finely calibrated piloting routines push it along. Inside the fortress, hallways reverberate with crisp orders to redirect power, strengthen secondary shields, and prepare every operational battery. Officers yell over one another, unable to coordinate an effective counterattack. But the warship's jamming signals drown their comm channels in static. In the chaos, whole gun emplacements switch off, rendered inoperable by malicious code that no one can track. The warship aims for the biggest alien cruiser in orbit. It fires a cluster of them, lethally accurately, and they detonate in bright succession, carving deep lesions all through the cruiser's central superstructure. Hull plating buckles, flickering fires burst forth, and soon enough the crippled ship is listing helplessly. Its beseeching requests for reinforcements reverberate through the fortress, but no assistance reaches them in time. On smaller alien corvettes, terror begins. These ships were designed to patrol placid sectors, not contend with a human juggernaut that despises concentrated onslaught. Other captains call for a quick retreat, only to crash straight into the cloaked mines the warship has laid. Blasts blossom in quick succession, ripping apart corvettes in searing eruptions of flame. Survivor reports give a terrifying account. The anthropoid warship engages with nameless tactics never seen before in human history. At ground level on distant worlds, millions of citizens absorb the carnage in real time, jaws slack with disbelief. They watch alien armies, once unstoppable, dissolve before one enemy. There are gasps when cameras track the ballistic arcs of the ship's weapons and take in its shimmering hull. Rumors circulated that it could be a juggernaut, scaring the stuffing out of every empire that ever dismissed Earth's iron will. The warship's crew continues to operate in a laser-like fashion. They study engine readouts for signs of overheating. Gunners monitor vital targets, traveling in search of power stations and command hubs hidden in southern fortresses. With each successful strike, an artery of alien control is severed, plunging more systems into darkness. The fortress's defenders, once assured that they could turn back any assault, now confront the grim prospect that their celebrated stronghold might collapse. In a bold move, a group of alien frigates manages a flanking attack, attempting to catch the warship by surprise. They streak in at high velocity, their cannons locked onto the vessel's blind spots. But suddenly, with brilliant maneuvering, the warship inverts its orientation and fires a complete spread of torpedoes. The frigates scatter, crossing in each other's flight paths. The result, a cascade of explosions that lights up the star's cape. None remain to retaliate. Until then, desperate to reclaim control, an alien commander commands the fortress's central ion cannon to charge. Giant conduits hiss and crackle, funneling raw power into a giant barrel. Even a single direct hit could disable even the warship's sophisticated shields. Observers from several star systems hold their breath as the fortress's last weapon readies for launch. Their victory will be short-lived if they don't manage to neutralize the creature in time. Perceiving the boost in energy, the war vessel propagates all existing power to the primary light beam assembly. Engineers perform rapid cycling routines that put strain on the reactor just below its safe limits. Sparks flicker across the console, protective circuits struggling to contain the staggering output. Then, a blinding lurch, the warship opens fire. Twin skeins of molten wrath coalesce into a singular thrust that penetrates the fortress's hull and speeds toward the ion cannon. An instant later, the fortress's heart detonates in a blinding flash, consuming the ion cannon and decks around it. Shockwaves emanate, knocking even distant cruisers off course. Fractures of plasma-laced metal splay across orbit. The once great citadel left a withering field of devastation. Cheers of exhaustion erupt on the warship's bridge. Within minutes, they have laid waste to a key alien stronghold. Word of the victory spreads throughout the galaxy across millions of relay stations. Millions observe the fortress's collapse on real-time feeds. Gravity holds sway, pulling at the leash, while alien forces gaze in disbelief, reeling from the awareness of a prized sanctum, believed unassailable, lay in tatters. Each accuses the other of incompetence. Others wonder if humankind has now outgrown a type of war no one can afford to conduct. It is that defining moment when the mirage of alien supremacy shatters. A scourge of dread cloaks those who once dreamt of ransacking Earth's decaying remains. Now they can see how mistaken they were. The warship's initial attack has rattled the core of the galaxy, proving that human has a power that's too great to ignore. For those convinced of some future where humans were doomed to insignificance, this is a jarring wake-up call. On the other side of the galaxy, alien coalitions scurry to launch a desperate counterattack. A flurry of emergency summits assembles in far-flung capitals as formerly antagonistic factions rally in common alarm. Even sworn enemies bury old vendettas, uniting under one cause: destroy the human warship before it topples every pillar of their dominance. Fleet after fleet pools in contested space, each commander confident that mere numbers will crush any single vessel. Centuries' worth of service and battle have turned colossi of dreadnoughts and hardened carriers packed with heavy fighter wings and freshly minted frigates into a mixed force that lurches forward in a disordered coalition. None can be ignorant of the raging fear within them. The warship's victory at the fortress has set off a flurry of speculation. Did it employ exotic weapons stolen from dead empires? Maybe it harnesses a reactor based on outlawed research. None of the speculation can be substantiated, but it adds to the paranoia. Some factions even suspect that if the humans built one invincible warship, they may have built others in secret. Then, a week later, the largest coalition ever seen in living memory comes up next to one of our major hyperspatial junctions. Admirals orchestrate a complex plan. They will first lure the warship by threatening a key human stronghold, then deliver the killing blow in a series of attacks. The logic seems sound. Humans will rush to defend their own, so be it, wherever they may rise, and to their doom. Yet the Watchers see cracks in this plan. Rivalries fester below the coalition's facade of unity. Some darn admirals will all want to take credit for the coup de grace. Others are distrustful of their new allies, denying them critical intel. Such fractures undermine the synergy required to face an opponent as devious as the human warship. At the border of the disputed system, smaller alien scouting parties remain vigilant. Their sensor arrays scour the vacuum, hungry for the slightest hint of an approaching ship. Time drags. Tense moments stretch into hours, then days. Crews get restless, alternating between anxiety and false bravado. Officers practice simulations again and again, imploring discipline that withers further with each moment that drags uncertainly forward. Abruptly, there's a flurry of partial sensor contacts on displays. A swirling anomaly indicates the warship is about to enter real space in close proximity. The coalition reacts in two simultaneous steps, snapping to attention. Capital ships face up their gun batteries. Fighter wings take to the stars. It is the moment they have practiced for. Adrenaline courses through, stoking the eagerness to erase humankind's uprising. Then, suddenly, the warship, an outline in the void, like an edge. Its engines flare, leaving trails of glowing plasma across starfields. Admirals of the coalition yell for a complete attack, convinced that their edge and firepower will guarantee a quick win. Command ships lock weapons arrays, firing salvo after salvo. But as energy beams shoot at the human warship, it dodges with eerie accuracy. And engine plumes twist it through patterns the aliens can't quite track. Countermeasures saturate the battlefield with dazzling jamming. Coalition frigates dance into intercept, only to find themselves out of sync with one another, collisions averted at the last moment by frantic course changes. The warship, sensing weakness, fires back. Bolts of searing energy stabbed into the line, causing chain reactions to ripple across the hulls of lightly armored corvettes. The alien carriers scramble to launch swarms of fighters, but the warship's targeting computers take them out of their flight before they can coordinate. Before long, the proud-massed fleet lays in tatters. Desperately clawing for control, coalition commanders send contradictory orders. Others call for a headlong rush. The belief is that the warship can be overwhelmed with numbers. Others call for caution, letting it give them the bait for a trap. The ensuing confusion leaves whole wings floating aimlessly, open to precise hits. Chaos reigns, and the warship takes advantage of it, without mercy. Reluctant to watch their plan go up in flames, a formidable group of dreadnoughts tries to flank the warship. They back up behind an asteroid field, looking for a gap. But the warship picks up their shift and unleashes a swarm of high-yield torpedoes that cut through the wreckage with needle-like precision. Explosions tear at the dreadnoughts, and they come to a halt in a maelstrom of smoke and shattered metal. The scope of devastation shocks the coalition's morale. Desperate requests for reinforcements run riot across command frequencies, but reserves sit scattered across light years, mired in lesser engagements or watching over other territories. The warship is at the nexus of this conflagration, dancing between tormented lines as every alien alliance is forced to surrender. Despairing that all hope is gone, various factions turn to old habits, blaming others for the catastrophe. Spies sabotage important weapon platforms, rivalries resurface, and entire squadrons disobey orders. That meltdown only enhances the warship's edge. With each passing moment, its presence seems less absolutely stoppable, its victory less absolutely assured. Then comes the ultimate twist. The warship reveals a new trick, a force of gravity that bends the local space. Vessels caught in its wake break formation, flailing impotently as navigational systems go haywire. The coalition's final hope at a coordinated attack vanishes against this horrifying new weapon. Panic spreads like wildfire, making any coordinated defense impossible. Confronted by lines that are falling apart, the coalition flounders. The warship thrusts deeper into the core of enemy territory, demonstrating that it can make its way through even the most effective of blockades. In that moment, there's no illusion left of an effortless victory. The bloodied fleets know their best efforts to hold humanity's champion have faltered. Frozen survivors throughout alien space look on in horror as the offending human warship then accelerates towards a key cluster of high-value shipyards. For many, this seems like the last big test. If those shipyards go down, whole battlefronts will fold and open a road directly to the alien capitals. Stunned leaders dispatch every available vessel to converge, hoping against hope to intercept the warship's path. Inside the warship's command decks, tension mixes with confidence. So far they have triumphed, but the next deployment will face challenges like never before. Data streams show heavy enemy formations armed to the teeth with the latest weapons. Nobody misunderstands the threat. Engineers go into overtime to shore up main systems. Preparing for casualties, medics prepare for casualties. Weapons crews conduct last-minute calibrations, keenly aware that one miscalculation could be fatal. As the warship emerges from translight transit, a massive enemy battle group is waiting for it. Dozens of dreadnoughts, carriers, and assault frigates form a titanic wall, each one primed to deliver destruction. The next instant, the abyss is illuminated by cannon fire, missile trails, and energy lances racing toward the solitary ship. A lesser craft would be immediately vaporized. But this human warship is no ordinary craft. Twin shield projectors begin to spin, stacking protective fields that absorb or deflect incoming ordnance. The corridors shake with the echo of rattling impacts, but the hull holds. Counter-batteries reply, hammering down the alien positions with salvos carefully calibrated to time penetrate weaknesses. Explosions strobe through the starfield, the vacuated becoming a maelstrom of flame and shrapnel. Alien skippers steady themselves, harping on practiced moves. Coordinated fighter squadrons sweep in from every angle, overwhelming traditional blind spots. The warship's turret clusters whirl with mechanical efficiency, ripping waves of small craft to shreds, sensing the threat before the operators saw their arrows. Hull plating glimmer under repeated hits, but the warship forces the encounter at a direct attack line, with the largest dreadnought of the blockade. In a twist, the dreadnought blasts a supercharged ion beam that cracks onto the warship's shields, dimming them for a second that's crucial. Another wave of alarm klaxons bellow on board, the segments of the shield array shimmering. The strains on the warship's reactor, the power diverted to keep it from going dark. The crew falls momentarily silent. They feel how close they came to catastrophe. Recovering rapidly, the warship locks its main cannon on the dreadnought, blasting the thing with a white-hot beam that burns right through the armor of the alien craft. Secondary explosions cascade across the dreadnought's hull. Crews work frantically to contain the meltdown, but it's too late. The dreadnought bursts in a shower of apocalyptic light and shockwaves that radiate outward, buffeting nearby ships. The alien blockade changes tactics. Yet smaller cruisers tighten formation, layering shields to offer mutual protection. Together, they unleash a volley that drives the warship's shields past safe thresholds. Bulkheads creak. The sparks rains down from the overloaded circuits. Engineers yell over the din of ventilation fans. The whole ship feels like it's going to rip itself in half from the strain. Unwilling to back down, the warship's captain calls for a dangerous maneuver. Engines flare to full power, charging directly into the densest part of the blockade. Missiles smash into hull plating, leaving blackened craters, but the warship does not halt. Threading its way between helpless carriers, it follows the trail into the heart of the enemy formation. At that point, close up, the warship activates a devastating cascade. A swarm of destabilizing torpedoes explode within the alien vessels. Their converging shockwaves grow to a maelstrom of fire, shredding steel and blowing debris to the wind. Sensor screens fill with blinding flares. In an instant, whole squadrons are wiped away, holes in the blockade yawning. In the wake of the attack, aliens' admirals demand an emergency retreat. Some simply flee, eager to save what's left of their fleets, and others hang onto last pockets of resistance, hoping to buy time for reinforcements. Their efforts are foiled as the warship brings to bear with ruthless efficiency. One by one, their hulls fracture apart, floating in the ether as ruined husks. Nonetheless, the warship is on the edge of its limits. Deck plating is warm, reactors are at meltdown limits, ammunition is running out. For the crew, the taste is the razor-thin margin that separates glory from nothing at all. But they fight on, spurred by the memory of Earth's agony and the hope of liberation from alien tyranny. With a final, conclusive advancement, the warship zeroes in on the central command station controlling the shipyards. Their primary battery fires a Hellstorm finger motivator that extends the coils and allows lengthy time on target, punch up to and including shielding, puncturing critical support elements. The station collapses with a roar, triggering chain reactions among the surrounding facilities. The galaxy says there are clouds of smoke and flames spewing through orbit. Countless civilians, alien and human, behind safe cover bear witness and understand that a new chapter is written in blood and steel. The human leviathan of war continues to crush enemy bastions as it's able. Fleets that once raided Earth lie scattered, broken by the determination of a single ship. In the stillness that follows the last detonation, the warship floats amid debris, bruised but unbowed. Life support systems are failing to catch up, repairs must start now. But the day belongs to humanity. No empire can dispute that the tide of this war has irrevocably turned. As the gunfire starts to die down, the galaxy looks on in shocked awe at the devastation. The naval armadas that once aspired to conquer Earth now drift as twisted wreckage across multiple systems. One human warship, battered but unbowed, floats in the wreckage as if a monument to indomitable will. In the aftershock, alien worlds reel. Governments that once scoffed at the very idea of human power scramble to sign defensive pacts or negotiate ceasefires. They fear a future where Earth has poised the knife, wielding the technology that could wipe out the old empires. On broadcast networks, quarrels persist about how a civilization judged trivial could grow so suddenly in strength. Across the remnants of humanity on Earth, relief is laced with disbelief. Families huddle in front of flickering screens and cheer the warship that won their tomorrow. They tell the tales of old, broken strongholds and harsh alien tyranny, and then they gaze at the new normal with awe. For workers who labored in secrecy to construct the warship, this vindication is a balm for their many sacrifices. But not all is celebration. The war has mired countless systems, dispersing civilians and shattering economies. Some species nurse bitterness, holding humanity responsible for generative conflicts that are increasingly savage. Others view humanity as a symbol of hope that lesser powers can rally around. This schism fractures the galaxy's political landscape and introduces an age of both fear and opportunity. As alien leadership crumbles, industries formerly ruled by fear and repression are liberated overnight. Minor species tentatively raise banners of their own, speculating on the possibility of carving out independence under humanity's newly minted deterrents. There will be more hidden rebel cells, empowered by the warship's incredible success. In the view of many, this planet is no longer a backwater. Now it's a power that can determine the fate of entire star clusters. Meanwhile, on human warship, a subdued stillness sets in. Wounded corridors still smolder, where fire squads fight off residual hotspots. Medical bays teem with wounded crew members, many showing scars that will never completely heal. Engineers huddled over flickering panels, struggling to keep critical functions up and running. But even in these dismal circumstances, there is a great sense of triumph no one can ignore. Rumors began circulating that this was just the start. If humans can deploy just one warship with such complete capabilities, what could they do with additional resources and even more ships or allies? Meanwhile, rumors abound that leading scientists are already designing even more advanced prototypes. Some voices call for a new coalition to be created instead, under the banner of Earth, to guarantee peace or victory if war erupts again. Alien record keepers race to document the tragic specifics of these destroyers. Many come to see that their whole worldview needs to shift. The concept of some kind of galactic pecking order, which once seemed set in stone, is now crumbling. One species, outraged and all but obliterated, showed that solidarity and persistence can surpass even the most lofty hopes. Future generations will be shaped by tales of the warship's defiance. But for all the hoo-ha, the big question remains: what is humanity actually going to do with this new power? Many are calls for revenge, for the warship to continue pressing on until every threat is extinguished. Others, sobered by the cost, want to negotiate a lasting peace, believing the galaxy has had enough of bloodshed. The crew itself has few easy answers. They fought a war of survival, and now they face an uncertain future. You drift through shattered husks and wretched bodies as the warship's sensors pick up lost escape pods and stranded survivors. Human pilots, in a rare show of compassion, come to the aid of any who gives up peacefully. This development confuses many alien observers who anticipated unending vengeance for Earth's anguish. Instead, they glimpse a measure of the complexity that underlies human resolve. Through the rubble of mighty dreadnoughts to the remains of gallant citadels, the galaxy faces a harsh reality. None are indomitable. Empires wax and wane, but the tenacity can bring down even the grandest turrets. And Earth, which was regarded as an afterthought, now has a seat at the halls of power, though who knows if it will rule benevolently or with an iron fist. The last words heard from the warship itself echo through all channels in one cold, terrible truth. Humanity is not broken, he suggested. We will never again be brought to our knees. It rings through destroyed fleets and battered colonies, a promise both chilling and galvanizing. The rest of the galaxy holds its breath as Earth prepares to act. For us spectators from a distance, one thing is clear. A warship that no one anticipated has irrevocably shattered the old order. Where tales of Earth's possible, imminent death were always whispered in fear, new tales bloom. Tales of the improbable might of the unyielding tears and determination of a community, an unspoken promise that the evolution we'll face toward that path on Earth will transform the entirety of humanity's road ahead.